Hello there fellow film enthusiasts, welcome back to my channel. Today we're diving into the fascinating world of developing slide positives using C-41 chemicals. We'll also talk about the reasons behind the expense and short shelf life of E6 chemicals. Stick around till the end because we'll also address a common issue I encountered during my process and how I fixed it. To do this, you're going to need a strong black and white developer such as HC110, Xtol or D76. Technically, all black and white developers will work, some better than others, but these ones you can find times for on the internet. Today I'm going to be using Xtol because that's what I have on hand. We will be using this developer at stock dilution or 1:0. You'll also need C-41 chemicals. I've tried this technique with the Cinestill press kit and the Kodak Flexicolor LORR chemicals. There is no reason why any C-41 kit won't work. Alright, before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's briefly discuss the process of developing slide positives using C-41 chemicals. C-41 is the standard colour negative film process, but did you know that you can actually use it to develop slide positives? I learnt this technique from the YouTube channel Go Everywhere. I'm going to link this video here. Now let's talk about E6 chemicals. E6 is a traditional process specifically designed for developing slide positives. However, these chemicals tend to be quite expensive compared to C-41. Here in Australia, you can expect to pay $100 for a 1 litre kit with shipping. Why is that? Well, E6 chemicals are more complex and require tighter quality control during manufacturing. They're designed to maintain precise temperature and pH levels throughout the development process, ensuring accurate colour reproduction. This level of precision comes at a cost. Moreover, E6 chemicals have a relatively short shelf life. The chemicals quickly degrade once mixed, which can lead to colour shifts and inconsistencies in your developed slides. This is why E6 kits usually come in smaller quantities, and photographers who shoot slides frequently might find themselves restocking more in the future. Now enough talk, let's get developing. So I've gone ahead and loaded up a roll of 100D cinema film. This expired back in 2008, I believe, so it is quite expired, although I have had good results with it. This is a 35mm roll, by the way. Now let's get started. So I've got all my chemicals heated up to 39 degrees, and we're going to start with our first developer of Xtol. Now this is diluted 1:0, meaning that this is mixed to the specification on the bag of Xtol, and that's it. There's no dilution after that. So we need a fairly strong developer for this. Now we're going to be doing this first developer for 12 minutes with 30-second inversions. Those of you who have done C-41 before, this is really long. This is a very long time to be developing for. So if you got started in black and white and you like the whole 1 minute inversion thing, stand developing all that, and now you're getting into this process or getting into C-41 process, you realize that you have to do a bit more work and agitate the tank every 30 seconds. This is kind of blowing that out of the water. Now we're going to be doing it for 12 minutes with 30-second inversions. So let's get this developer in here before I cool it down too much by talking too much, and let's get going. "10 seconds of inversions to start with, and then inversions every 30 seconds. I usually do 5 inversions every 30 seconds, and our first one's coming up now. 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're off to the races. So I'll come back to you when this is done. Now, just a side note, because this is going to be such a long development time and temperature sensitivity is quite important with this process, I am going to be putting it back into the sous vide as it develops at some point. I'm basically just holding the tank inside the sous vide bath. I know you can't see it because of the camera, but yeah. Just holding it in there, and then every 30 seconds, take it out, give it some inversions. now we're done with our first developer step. Get rid of that X-tol and begin rinsing. I'm just going to do the rinse off camera. I'm just putting water in it. Now you can, if you want, and I know all the guides say you should, but use 39-degree water when you do your rinses. For me, you know, reticulation, I've never actually seen it on any of my films, so I don't usually worry about it. So there we go, the film is all rinsed and we're ready for the next step. Now this is probably the craziest step of this whole process, and it's completely counterintuitive to everything you've learned about developing film, because we haven't fixed it yet. But we are going to fog this film with light. That's what this is for. Now in the traditional E6 process, this is done chemically, but we don't have those chemicals, so we're going to be doing it manually. So this feels painful to do, but let's open this tank. Here is our film, and we are going to unspool it. Oof, feels horrible. Now prepare to be blinded. Now if you've done everything right up to this step, you should be seeing some faint black and white images on the film. This is what we want. So I'm going to come over to this light, and I'm going to hit it with 2 spectrums. So right now it's a bit of a warm light, and I'm going to go 10 seconds on each side. Oh, this film is longer than I thought it was. Benefits of bulk loading. Other side. And then I'm going to change the the light temperature. To something a bit bluer, because we want to expose it with a full spectrum of light. That is not sunlight, by the way. You'll end up with a magenta tinge on your film if you just hit it with sunlight. Alrighty, that is properly exposed again. So we're just going to load that back onto the tank. Onto the reel, sorry, put it back in the tank. If it does jam up a bit, you can always wet it to lubricate it. And there we go, some more film. So I'm just going to drop that back in the spool. Put on this reel just to keep it all held down. And turn off that light, because it's very bright. Okie dokie, so basically we're just going to continue on with a regular C-41 process with some adjustments to the timing. Traditionally you would develop C-41 for 3.5 minutes with a fresh batch of chemicals. I'm going to be doing it for 5 minutes because E6 chemicals are actually a lot stronger than regular C-41 chemicals. Well, at least the bleach is. And the developer just a bit more. So I'm just going to continue on like normal with the regular C-41 development now. Here's my developer. And I'm also going to put some gloves on for this. The C-41 chemicals are a bit more carcinogenic than the vitamin C based chemical in X-tol. I also agitate my C-41 chemicals differently. They tend to gas, so I agitate by swirling and giving it about 6 seconds for each agitation. This first one, of course, is for 10 seconds just to get that film nice and soaked with chemicals. All right, let's get into it. And that is the second developer done. Now I like to rinse in between bleaching and developing. I know that's not part of the official steps, but I just want to hold on to these chemicals for as long as possible. because I'm totally cheap that way. Now I'm using a Kodak FlexiColor kit here, so the fixer and bleach steps are separate, which if you buy just a regular press kit from Tetanol or Cinestill, that is of course Blix combined into one step. So for my purposes, I will be bleaching for double the recommended time. Now why is this? Because again, E6 chemicals are a lot more potent than C-41 chemicals. So I will be fixing this for not 5 minutes. Gotta adjust this thing every time, I swear. 8 minutes. Whew, this FlexiColor stuff smells insane. Now we're going to rinse the bejesus out of it. We do not want any of our bleach to touch the fixer, as it will reduce its life quite a bit if it gets cross-contaminated. All right, so the film is rinsed and we're ready for the last step. Now, usually when I do this, I double the time of fixing as well, but I just want to try this time doing a regular timed fix. Now the reason I'm risking this is because if you underfix, you can always put the film back in the tank and continue to fix. All right, fixing is done. Oh, actually, let's just check first to make sure that the fixer did its job completely. Could probably go a bit longer on the fixer actually, so I might just pop it back in for a bit more fixing action. This is why we experiment, to find these things out. Guess that's what I get for trying to speed things up. So while this is doing that, as you can see, this is a very long process. And it wouldn't bother me so much. I mean, we all do stand developing and such for hours, or I've done it for hours on end. But the fact that we have to be here to agitate every 30 seconds for each of these steps can get really annoying. It's just, of course, if you have a Jobo setup, this would be a lot easier for you. But if you can afford a Jobo, you can afford E6 chemicals, damn it. Unless, of course, you bought the Jobo tank and now you have no money for E6 chemicals, which also makes sense. All right, that's fixing done. I'm just gonna have a quick look to see how that leader is looking, and much nicer. Excellent. All right, let's get that rinsed. Just gonna let that rinse. I'm gonna hit it with some stabilizer and then I'll hang it up to dry and I'll get back to you and show you the results. Now, this is where it all went wrong. There were pictures, but you could only see them by holding them up to a bright light. Because I could clearly see the images, there was nothing wrong with the first and second development. But there was an obvious fog on the film base. This means that not all of the silver was correctly removed in the bleach process. This means one of two things. I didn't bleach for long enough, or my bleach was stored incorrectly. You see, unlike other chemicals, bleach actually benefits from oxidization. I ignored this fact and stored my bleach in an accordion bottle with no airspace. By introducing some oxygen by opening the bottle, extending it and shaking the bejesus out of it, problem solved. So to fix this, I took the following steps. First, I re-wet the film to ensure it was properly hydrated. This step is essential before proceeding with any redevelopment. Once the film was re-wetted, I loaded it back onto the reel and I re-bleached it. Bleaching removes any remaining color couplers from the emulsion and reactivates the silver, ready for the fixer. If you're using chemicals that have separate steps for the bleach and fixer, it's hugely important to rinse all the bleach before moving on to fixing. Any cross-contamination at this stage will kill your fixer. After re-bleaching, I proceeded with the fixing step. Fixing removes any remaining silver halides from the film, ensuring that it is stable and won't deteriorate over time. Once the film was fixed, I washed it thoroughly and stabilized it. And just like that, we have properly developed a roll of slide film. Here are the results. And there you have it, fellow film photographers. Developing slide positives using C-41 chemicals can be an exciting experiment, offering a unique twist on the traditional process. Remember, troubleshooting is an essential skill, and under-bleaching is just one of the issues you might encounter. Now, this roll took me the better part of 2 hours to do. Of course, it had to go back into the soup for the refixing and bleaching, but it's still a time-consuming process. But if you ask me, is it worth it? You're damn right it is. I'm never buying E6 chemicals again. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more photography tips, tricks, and tutorials. As always, keep experimenting and pushing the boundaries of your creativity. Until next time, happy shooting.